The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Glory to you, O Lord. A leper came to him and kneeling down begged him and said, "If you wish, you can make me clean." Moved with pity, he stretched out his hand, touched the leper, and said to him, "I do will it, be made clean." The leprosy left him immediately, and he was made clean. Then, warning him sternly, he dismissed him at once. Then he said to him, "See that you tell no one anything, but go show yourself to the priest, and offer for your cleansing what Moses prescribed. That will be proof for them." The man went away and began to publicize the whole matter. He spread the report abroad, so that it was impossible for Jesus to enter the town openly. He remained outside in deserted places, and people kept coming to him from everywhere. The Gospel of the Lord. Yeah, it's a great gospel passage, continuation of course, where we've been heretofore in the Gospel of Mark. But our first reading, I think, demands, I don't know if I'd say a little bit of commentary, but a little bit of reflection, meditation. It's one of my favorite gospels. It's one of my favorite scripture stories. And for any number of reasons, but one is this: like we see the action of the Israelite camp, right? Their eagerness to engage in battle with their enemies, and you see the whole thing grows to fever pitch when they bring the Ark of the Covenant into their camp, when they bring God into their camp, right? It's like, yeah, look, yes, we've got God here. We've got God. And this is what's going through people's minds. Like, yeah, we've got God, like God showed up. Here he is. And everyone's going crazy, right? And of course, their enemies, the Philistines here, are like, oh, whoa, what's going on? And they hear, like, what's going on. And they hear it in that way, right? They hear it that way. Like, when have gods joined a battle against us? Like, we're in a lot of trouble here. Right? But of course, it's not the way the scene ends, because the Philistines crush them. They absolutely crush them. So it's like, and I think there's a lot for us to try to think through that. I mean, it was a disaster. Look, it was a disastrous defeat. This is the commentary, right? In which Israel lost 30,000 foot soldiers. The Ark of God was captured. Right? It's like their great joy, their excitement of God entering their camp. The Ark of God was captured, and then Eli's two sons, fairly significant figures, Hophni and Phinehas, were among the dead. They're wiped out. When just moments before they're celebrating God entering their camp. And I think it's a real warning to us about what it means to be on God's side versus a kind of like a recruiting of God to be on our side. Like, there's no sense you don't hear it in that part of the scripture at all. The Ark of God is in their camp. The people were consulting God as to what they ought to do, right? How they ought to proceed, whether with the violent conflict that was upon them or away from it. You don't hear any of that. It's just that we're entrenched in our battle against the hated Philistines, and here comes God, and surely he's on our side. And we're going to then act like he's on our side. We're going to push into battle, and we'll be fine. We're going to be victorious. And they're wiped out. Right? So some of the points for reflection are whether or not we're allowing God to be God in our camp, or are we convinced that we've already got it and we're just soliciting him to be on our side without even really engaging him on the matter. We should engage him on the matter. And on what matter? On every matter. We should consult God on everything. Everything. We should be looking to Jesus for direction in everything. There's nothing too small. I heard someone comment on, like as you perhaps drive around the mall. No one does this anymore, of course, because we don't have malls. But drive around the mall looking for a parking spot. There are a lot of parking spots now. This is the point. But you're driving around looking for a parking spot, and you're praying about it, and you say like, "How does God care about your parking spot?" Yes, He does care about your parking spot. He cares about everything. He cares about everything. You got to consult Him on everything. Allow Jesus to be the Lord of all. right? If he's not the Lord of all, he's not the Lord at all. And he cares about everything, right? Of course, he cares about things more than, parking spots at the mall, but he cares about that as well. So where are we, though, in terms of like shielding ourselves from the real heartful interaction with God that he wants, versus like laying our lives out transparently and vulnerably to him in prayer so that he can lead and guide us in every aspect of our lives. You say, well, no, this is too small for God. Or even like, I'd prefer to keep this thing to myself, probably because I know that he's going to tell me to go about it some other way. Right? I mean, what would have happened in the camp of the Israelites if they had really sought God's guidance? Would he have led them into that defeat? Right? I mean, I think these are reasonable questions for us to ask. And of course, what helps us to appropriate this reality, this lesson for ourselves, is the person of Jesus. Right? God is on the move here in this region. And what do we see? Jesus is moved with pity. Stretched out his hand, touched a leper, said to him, "I do, will it be made clean?" Right? Jesus is on the move, and this is who our God is. We should not hesitate at all to come before him, and just as this leper does, kneel down and beg him, "If you wish, you can make me clean." He kneels. I mean, this is not a neutral act to kneel down in front of Jesus. I mean, this is a prayer posture, right? This is an adoration posture. This is it. I'm submitting myself to you, Jesus. You do what you will. I know you can. And this is our our chasing after Jesus, our throwing ourselves down before him, our submitting ourselves to him. It all starts here, right? The leper is a really great witness to faith, what faith is, the submission of our hearts and our lives to Jesus, and being willing to go where he leads, knowing that he has the power not only to effect the healing that I'm so desperately seeking, but he has the power also to make me an agent of his rule. He can fit me into God's plan, not the other way around, right? We're not in this sense recruiting Jesus to be the stamp of approval on our plan. We're submitting ourselves to Jesus so that he can incorporate us into God's plan. There is a very big difference. And that's where we have to start. That's where the story of our lives is going to begin, when we submit ourselves to Jesus. Of course, there's so much going on in this passage, and I'm going to skip most of it. It's probably, I've probably preached on it every year for 5 years now, so I can skip it and say something like, the way this closes again gives us some sense of the universality of what Jesus is doing, like the great and broad and global push of what Jesus is doing in restoring all of creation. When we see, he remains outside in deserted places. He can't enter a town but for the crush. I mean, people are going to be hurt if he enters some town and stays there. People kept coming to him from everywhere. We're supposed to hear, this desperation to go and search for Jesus and find him and submit our lives to him. But it doesn't matter if it's on the page in the gospel. What matters is if it's in our hearts. If it's just on the page, of course it's got to be on the page, but if it's just on the page, what does that do? We can see the eagerness, we can see the excitement of the people of Jesus' day. People kept coming to him from everywhere. From everywhere. Right? And if we know who is in our midst or who is out in the deserted place, the power that he has and the plan that he wants to effect, then we will want to find him wherever he is. We will want to go out with eagerness, with real haste, to see him and to submit ourselves to him so that we can be healed and we can be agents of his healing rule in the world. Do we have that eagerness? And if we don't, we can see it today as a gift that God gives. We can ask him for it. Because that has to be part of our healing, is to be healed in such manner that we realize who this person is, who Jesus is, and what he has on offer for us. And it's much more, and this is the point, it's much more than what even we want it to be, right? It's much more, we're in the camp celebrating the ark, like he's going to fight our battles. No, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. The real rejoicing and gladness is that he is calling us into his service. Not that he is a stamp of approval on the plan that we have, but that he has a plan and he's going to accomplish it. That's our hope. And he has summoned us into that. He's summoned us and he heals us. He restores us so that we can be agents of restoration in the world. And the way that restoration takes root, takes hold in the world is what? When we follow Jesus, moved with pity, moved with compassion, moved with charity, moved with love. That's what it is. But first he has to heal us to make us capable of it. And when he does, then the real eagerness and excitement for his plan really takes effect in our lives. So we have to ask him again, Lord, please heal me. Heal me. I want to be more excited about who you are. I want to be more excited about the plan that you've come to effect. Heal me. I need your healing. I need your healing. I know you're calling me to the mission of healing and compassion and the rest, love, charity. I know you are. Please, Lord, heal me so that I can follow you ably on the way.